Hello there, it's Karen from Vintage Style Journals. Thank you for joining me again as I work my way through this lovely little journal. Obviously those who have been keeping up to date with my videos know that this is actually going to be given away at the end of finishing it. And apologies straight up because I've been a bit slack in getting the next one up recently, so I'm just going to quickly go through for those that haven't seen it yet. We'll just front page, this will be the wraparound. Just mostly painting styles through this journal. I know that it's not a typical journal, and I don't expect everybody to be able to do the same as me, but just really doing it to give you some ideas if you're looking at getting a journal made yourself. These are just a few little ideas, and since I've last videoed, I actually added a stamp to this particular one here. When I finish the journal, I think I'm just going to leave it as a painted and an art media type journal. For whoever gets it, they can add their beautiful touches to it, and I would love it if whoever wins this giveaway will actually just show me what they do with it. That'd be lovely. Again, this is that gorgeous handmade paper from France. Very limited supply I have. Another crackled finish there, and I decided to put the material that I mentioned earlier in one of the videos. I decided to put this material on to go with this painting, and I've left this plain because I think what would look really good there is just a flap of vintage journal paper that you can just write on and lift up. I popped a beautiful piece of wallpaper on this flap, and you know, you could just add anything at all to this, pockets or just a wad of paper again, or just leave it plain because it looks really quite lovely. This is a vintage wallpaper piece. I do source a lot of vintage wallpapers and use them in my journals, so yeah, that's what I've done since I last videoed, and you may have seen me painting this. I'm going to leave this side. I thought I might put something here, but I think I'm just going to leave it because that's really quite busy, obviously. Lovely paint job, but yeah, just a bit busy for putting anything extra over onto this side. Again, I've added another piece of that gorgeous paper in there on the flap. I mostly put these on the flap because a lot of the flaps have got the back of the, I'll show you in this one, just the back of the bag on them. And yes, you can put little pieces of material, equal little pieces, just to go into each of these places here if you should so desire. But for this journal, I'm mostly going to be focusing on my painting in it, so that whoever gets it is going to get something special. Particularly if you're not a painter, you're going to have some lovely little paintings throughout this book. I want to paint another shabby rose and put in here sometime. So I may not do that today because I think I've decided to do some stamping today. And I want to show you just a few pages left. I want to show you something that I came across with the IOD stamps. And when my husband purchased this stamp for me, which is the beautiful rose stamp from IOD, in the bag I found some, I think they're masks, they call them masks anyway, and initially I thought, what on earth are these here for? So these are the stamps. I'll just pop those aside, but in the actual plastic bag itself, they've got, I don't know if you can see that, I might have to pull one of them out, I think. Just grab one. They've got this set of masks, and how you use those is quite lovely and quite easy, but I just want to take you through that because I'm going to put a big stamp over both this section here. I've put probably 2 coats of just a white gesso on here. It's thick in places, not so thick here at the sides, but that's how I like it. I don't love things perfect, necessarily, because I feel that perfect is lovely for some, but I like the added character that an imperfect piece of art can actually bring to the beauty of the overall project. So I'm just going to try and locate the mask for what I want to do is I want to put some writing, and this is one of the stamps. I'll show you on the back, so on the back of the stamp, so you'll see it more clearly. This is the part here that I want to stamp in here somewhere, but I'm tossing up whether I want to do one of these and one of these, or this whole big one here. I might, yeah, I don't know what to do here, because I want to incorporate this writing within the stamp, and that's what the mask is going to let me do. I just need to find the mask I'm looking for. It looks like it might be missing. I hope it isn't. No, it isn't. There we go. So I'm just going to get the mask out that features the actual writing piece, and I should have done this before I turned the video on, but anywho, this is how I roll, and sometimes I'm a little bit more organised than others. So I'm just releasing the mask from the plastic sheet that comes with this stamp set, and that's it there. And you can see that it corresponds to the actual writing. If I turn that over here, actually if I put it on this side where it's meant to go, once I stamp this down, I'll put this mask over the top, which will cover over the writing, and then I think I'm going to maybe I'll stamp this one over top of it. And I've decided I'm going to go with the Ranger Archival ink, and it's a waterproof, acid-free and permanent ink. That way, if I decide to colour it in or do a wash in the background just to make it a little bit more interesting, it's not going to run. Now these inks can take, quite a few hours to dry permanently, so I might just do the stamping part today and see how it looks, and then I'm going to do maybe a wash in the background just to cover some of the stark white here. I just want to have a quick look at how I want it to look. Maybe I will use the big stamp because it'll go all the way across. I think that'll make it more interesting. So bear with me, I'll get the big stamp out. These stamps are absolutely gorgeous. They're so large. I don't think there's any other stamp manufacturer or company such as IOD that make large stamps like this. So just trying to yank it off here. Let's see, it's a bit hard to yank off, but what I've done is I've gone over the stamp with a light sanding, and what that does is it gives the top of the stamp a bit of a tooth to actually take in the ink. If you don't do it, I think you'll be disappointed. If you've got these stamps, you just really need to give them a very light sanding with a very fine sandpaper, just so that they're in the perfect condition, ready to rock and roll with your actually I'm probably better off leaving it on there. What I might do, I'll leave it on, I'll take all the other stamps off, and I'll use this as a back, because there's not a lot of stamp pads or stamp bits of plastic. You know how you use a stamping mat, like this type of thing. There's not a lot in this size. You can get them large, but they're really expensive, so I choose not to. Just taking the other stamps off here so that I can actually use that, and I'm going to probably go make it a little bit in towards the middle. Actually, I might put that one back on and do, no I won't, I'll just do this stamp. So what I'm going to do, you're going to see, but I'm going to use this plastic piece here as the background, so when I ink this up I can then just place it like such, okay, and then I'm going to be able to press down. You could just use the stamp like this, for instance. You could just grab the stamp, ink it up, and then turn it over very carefully, put it down and be very careful on the back of it. but I feel that having it on the plastic is probably going to be a little bit more helpful. I just want to, these little masks are quite tricky to see, so I just want to keep that one close. Alrighty, so we're going to go with the writing first, and I'll just ink that one up. I might use the stamp background for that. Pop it on there. And I'm going to ink that up with the permanent ink. You can use paint on these stamps. The IOD sisters have a range of the inks or paints that they sell for using with their stamps. I just use what I've got pretty much. A bit stingy like that. I don't want to go out and buy special things when I've got other things that are adequate and will perform just as well. I've got to get it up the right way. Yep, okay. So just going to place this stamp, because the majority of the rose picture is probably going to go around here. I'm going to maybe stamp it in the middle. How about that? I'll just stamp it here. Just press down quite firmly because I've got a bit of a bulge in the paper here. Hopefully. That's not too bad. It didn't come out where I wanted it though. That's a bit of a pest. I'm not going to do any more over that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that off there, and I'm going to use that little mask, if I can find it. I'm going to pop that down over top of where I've stamped. Just trying to see it properly. I don't want to. So I'll place that mask down. It should cover all the words, so I'm just going to be trying to get it over all the words. I don't want the words blurred when I put the other stamp over top. Tricky little hobbit. Just kind of, yeah, it's very touchy in the sense that it'll move a little bit. So when the stamp finally goes down, I'm going to have to be super careful. So I've got that seated in place, and I'm just going to ink up my large rose here. Maybe I'll just move this down here a little bit. Start inking up here. Bear with me while I ink up. Hopefully it's I'm going to get it all. Doing it very quickly, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. With these masks, a brilliant idea. Whoever came up with it, rock on. I just think it's great. You don't have to be an artist to use these types of things. You just have to know really some tips and what you need to do. And using the masks, I think it's just brilliant, because you're going to get all that lovely stamp in there, but it's going to be a little bit unique because I've got the mask covering over the actual writing. And hopefully, if I'm not too stupid and I can do it, I'm just going to stand for this one. I'm going to just place this down very carefully here and just press down. It's probably not going to stamp very well on that side because it's got the bulge in the paper, but I can fix that in a minute. It'd be awful if I pull it up and it's all blurry. Oh my giddy aunt. I do some stupid things sometimes, but I think this is going to work. If that mask has stayed in place, you should see a really nice outcome here. And before I get too carried away, I'm going to try and get that down on there. I hope it's not going to blur at all. I suppose what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is I'm going to paint over this page. So yeah, don't fret if you muck it up. If you have this beautiful stamp, this is a lovely way to use it. Just want to get that in the gap, pressing down quite firmly on that. Here's the pudding, the proof in the pudding. Let's have a look. Okay, so what's happened is the stamp has lifted the mask up when I pulled it up, which is fine. And you can see where the writing is there. The rose is all around it, but it's not covering over the writing. I suppose if I put the writing in a different colour, it might look a bit better. I don't know. But I'm going to try and get that writing back on there. Be a bit tricky actually, because just me and my eyesight putting the stamp over. So I'm just going to go on half of the stamp that I missed, just getting this little part here hopefully filled in. Let's try it. What have I got to lose? Oh well, you know, as I said, I'll paint over it. If it looks pretty rubbish, I don't want it to be all blurry, as the stamp placed down can tend to look if it's not placed appropriately. Not sure what to do here. Maybe I should have put my hand underneath and push that paper up into it. It might work. Ah, botheration. Never mind. Okay, didn't work, but that's all right. You got the gist of it anyway. On a flat surface, this will work perfectly. It's just that I've been a little bit ambitious in doing it on the bend here, so that's okay. It'll be all right. We'll just work with it. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to paint around that so it's got a nice washy background. And these okay, so I've just painted over it. Obviously I wasn't happy with it, so I'm not going to pursue it. I'm using the Jo Sonja base coat color here, and it's called Vellum. It's kind of like just an interesting sort of background color. I'm just going to wait for that to dry. But before I do, I'm just going to add a few little touches of colour to it. Hopefully I can just grab some off my wet palette that I've had sitting here for weeks now. You would not believe it. It's absolutely weeks that my wet palette has been alive and kicking. And so I'm just colouring up some of the paint on my brush, and just to add a little bit of interest to the page, so it's not all absolutely, you know, this colour. We'll see what it looks like, and hopefully I can do a better job of the painting than I did with the stamping. I'm just going to rub a bit of that back. I might just get a bit of paper towel. This is all just still very wet, so I'm just going to just dab it back a little. Probably not ideal to do it while the background's still wet, but yeah, just work with what I've got here. So I'm in a little bit of a hurry to get this video up for you. I feel like I've neglected you lately and not putting much forward. It's just obviously been a really busy time, and just soften that down a little bit. Just adds a little bit of extra interest to it. You can use any colours you like if you've got paint at all. I'm keeping with the shade, with the mauvey, reddy sort of colour, just so that, you know, it'll sort of fit in reasonably well with the rest of my... this would be a good place to do my Shabby Rose, actually. I might do that. I'm going to put the stamp back on here, but I'm just, really, I'm quite sure, because of just how it kind of disappointed me. It didn't work. It's always good to muck around with stuff anyway and just see how it goes. I've just got a really light bit of smattering of paint on my brush, and while that's drying, I think I'm going to go ahead and paint a rose over here, just on this particular page. So I shall get my other brush, dip into my beautiful rose pink that I love when I paint these roses. These are the roses that I put on my envelopes, and I also use them when I sell anything from my shop. Usually what I do is I put a little mini gift in, and this is just one of my tiny painted roses. In the little bag I've got some stickers that I make, and these ones are actually, let's try and get them out without getting them in the paint. These ones are actually my beautiful hand painted Chanel. I painted these, obviously I painted a larger painting and made stickers out of each of them. My logo, my Flora design that I painted, just put her in a sticker format, and just a lovely rose. So they go in that little bag, and that's what I typically give to every person that purchases from my shop. So I love painting these little roses. That was the point. And this colour here in the background is the colour that I love. I just feel it really works. It looks vintagey, and that's my thing. So I'm just going to wet up my Filbert paintbrush and grab some of my lovely rose pink here. It's going to be a really watery, quick rose. So yeah, bear with me. I'll just see how it turns out. Sometimes they turn out better than I expect. Sometimes they don't turn out so great at all. So we'll just put some shape down. Actually, I might make a little bit more watery than that. I prefer it. Now this is acrylic paint, but you can really make it look like a watercolor type of paint if you want to. It doesn't always have to, I'm just going very quick, doesn't always have to be thick colour. I'm using the brush and just painting around, putting some random kind of petals in. Might just dab in the middle with a darker colour. We'll go with this, looks like permanent alizarin or something on my, so I'm just going to pop some paint in the middle. I'm going to use my round brush. I'm just going to move that around a little bit. You can see how quick I do these, but I love doing them. They're just my thing. These are my signature style rose. They're not a realistic rose, but you know that you're seeing a rose when you see them. Yes, I'm grabbing paint from the middle there after I've just put in a nice lot of paint. As quickly, I'm just wasting a bit of time really while this here dries, but I had intended to do some roses anyway. Just go a little darker. I'm going to put some Payne's Grey onto that paintbrush with that permanent alizarin. I'm going to go really dark in the center. I love the pink, but I think that you want to make it look like you're falling into the rose, like it's deep in the center. So I'm just going to add some extra color in there. So easy. Yeah, get your paintbrushes out, peeps, and have a go. You don't have a go, you'll never know. It's very going darker in the center. Now all I did was put some Payne's Grey with the permanent alizarin colour, which is a red, dark red kind of colour. You've got to be careful though with Payne's Grey, because you can almost make it look purple because it's like a deep blue, so it can actually make your colour look purple if you go too much with the Payne's Grey itself. So it's coming along okay. Yeah, I might just let that dry a bit and then I'll have another look at it. But in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just change the colour on my brush. I'm going to keep a bit of a dirty brush. I'm going to pick up some green. So all I've got on the brush now is the original rose pink that I started with. And I've picked up some olive green on my brush, and I'm making like a dirty green colour just so that I can have some interesting colour leaves. and it's going to fall in with the background colours as well. I'm just going to put leaves somewhere. I might start here because there's a bit of a crease. These are not perfect, as you see. I've just a couple of strokes of the paintbrush, and that's all I do. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can go for 7. It's a biggish sort of rose. I often find it tricky to place leaves, but yeah, this is not a realistic rose. Don't forget that, and don't criticize me in my. I had some person actually say, well, it's not really art, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, it's a type of art, but it's meant to be so that everybody can at least have a go and feel that they can accomplish something. So, you know, if you've got opinions that kind of, well, they might suit you, but they're not really necessarily appropriate to demean other people's work, I wouldn't do that to them or to you. So yeah, I'm saying it now. It's not meant to be perfectly normal or realistic. That's the whole point. So yeah, I need to work on my rose a little bit more. Sometimes I leave some white in it, just in the around the edges. So I've got a little bit of light here, but I've probably gone too dark with the pink in the background to start with, because I don't normally. It's more like a watercolory kind of thing that I do normally when I do it. So I'm just going to work on that a little bit. But it's still not dried, so I might leave that part, and what I'll do is I'll just go around the edges of my leaves as I do. That's my thing. That's what I do. Just sort of stands them out a little bit. So I'm using a liner brush here to do that. Hope I'm in shot there. Yeah, so I usually follow the leaf around, make it look interesting. So yeah, just a couple of strokes with the liner brush. You can equally do this with your brush pens. You could even do the rose with your brush pens. Just when you start around the outside and work your way in, and or you can do it the other way, that's up to you, but press down on the brush pens so that you've got that wider kind of stroke, and see how you go. If you've got brush pens, use those. Don't feel like you have to paint. Unless you want to give painting a go. It's a wicked thing to do. Awesome. Wicked awesome, I mean. So, you know, you can make a lot of beautiful things with a paintbrush, and they can be your style, not mine and not anybody else's. And it is art, regardless of what people may think. It is a form of art. It's just not a realism. It's not meant to be. Okay, I think I've said enough about that. I laughed actually when I saw the comment. I thought, what? Why would you do that? Why would you say that? You know, it's okay. Let me see your work. I'd love to see everyone's work actually, but I know someone online has actually turned all of her comments off because she got such nasty comments from people. I feel that's a bit of a shame, you know. I think if you can't say anything nice, you know what Mama used to say, don't say nothing at all. And I think if we all sort of looked after that rule, we'd all be doing very well. Okay, so yeah, I need a bit darker in the centre. I don't want to go purple, but I want it to look wonderful for the person who's going to get this. So I think I need to do more. I'm not happy. Not happy. Yeah, I can see my brush going quite purple. I might put some, what else have I got on my palette here? I don't know, it's hard to remember what I put on my palette. It's been weeks since I made it up, and it's still rocking on, which is incredibly funny, actually. I've got blues, I've got all colours over here. I just want something a bit darker in here. I'm just pressing for some interest. And you can see I've got little bits of light around there which will look like petals. I can put white on it. I don't tend to use a lot of white when I'm painting this sort of rose. I just sort of use a bit of light and dark where I can. I think the pen in the paper's not helping at the moment. Oh dear. I start these things and I think, why? Why did I do that? Anyway, we'll get around it. I'm starting to like it a bit more now. It's going to be a darker rose than I expected, but I really need that centre a bit darker for my liking. I'm probably looking at it saying, well, I think that's dark enough, Karen. It's a little bit too dark. Starting off with that gorgeous rose pink, I didn't expect to go that quite that dark in the rose, but some of them turn out better than I hope. Some of them don't turn out great at all. But it's, yeah, it's cathartic. It's good to actually have a go, and good to try your luck. See how it'll work. It's not going to be like anyone else's, that's for sure. I do paint realistic things, by the way. In fact, I've actually won show prizes painting with my realistic paintings, but I find that I love things that are quick and not too difficult to create. I'm just going to get my other rose pink on my brush now, and I'm going to go a little bit heavier with the paint. I'm just going to come in around here and tidy up some of these areas. Maybe bring that petal around. Yeah, I think I'm done with that. I like it. Just got water on my brush now. I'm just going to soften that in. Soften that. It's a bit hard there. Alrighty. That'll do. Okay, well, that's one page done. I hadn't expected to do that. I was going to do the stamp, and I didn't want it to be a long video, so I think I'll make the stamp my next video now that I've whetted your appetite, I hope. And I'll be back probably tomorrow with another video, hopefully. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and give me a thumbs up. It'd be great if you could even share my videos. Trying to give up my day job. So thanks again for watching.